Phew. Top workout I just finished. And, hey, guys. Okay. This is Simon Dean, and I want you to stay in shape and keep on listening to Reality Check Radio. Yeah!
Hey, Mr. Bucci, otherwise known as Simon Dean and Nova. How are you tonight, sir?
Pretty good, bro.
All right. Well, first and foremost, thank you very, very much for taking your time off to actually be on the show here tonight, Mr. Bucci. We do appreciate that.
Thanks, man. It's my pleasure. Look forward to it. So thanks for having me on.
Well, and number two, of course, you're on Reality Check Radio with myself, Rando Villafania, and on top of that, your soon-to-be promoter, Eric Pleska from Pro Wrestling Syndicate.
Hey, Mike, how you doing?
The Big E, how you doing, bud?
I'm
looking forward to it. That's what I like to see, man. Let's go a little hardcore here. And should be pretty easy. PWS all the way, man. I mean, I went there last June. Eric and the crew were totally stand-up guys. Everything they said they were going to do happened. It was first class all the way. I don't really leave my house for anybody anymore. So I'm looking forward to it.
Well, let's go ahead and speak about those two events coming up shortly before we get into your career, Mike. But basically, you got two matches coming up. One on the 4th, where you basically gave an open challenge, and on the 5th, where you're teaming up with your former tag team partner one last time, Chris Chetty, to go up against Hurricane Helms and Starman. So basically, let's talk about...
Nova is that talented that if anyone could pull off wrestling themselves, it might be him. So that might be a good audible to call. There might be an unforeseen injury the day of.
That was a flop. Okay, my apologies. On April the 4th, Mike, you have this open challenge. First and foremost, like, do you have any specific people that you're hoping walks through that curtain? You know, could it be maybe Fantasio as a rematch?
I could care. Let me put it in perspective, too, man, with this whole PWS thing and what these guys got going on. Again, I don't leave my house for just about anybody anymore. So these guys, Pat and Eric, and the crew and the environment that they have created there, and the fans make it fun again. And they're drawing incredible houses. The people love coming. I mean, that's the fans that come to these shows. They're religious about it. They come in. They're part of the experience. They have huge meet and greets ahead of time. The intermissions, everybody gets to get as many pictures and photos as they want. The matches are all first top notch. Everybody who's on the show looks like they should be on the show. They all serve a purpose. Real respectful bunch too. That's why I agreed to come and do them. Night 1 open challenge. I could care less who it is. It could be Ty Bailey and Bill DeMott, or it could be, whoever got fired from WWE last week. I mean, or it could be somebody from Iron Mike Sharp's wrestling school from 1991. It don't matter to me. You know, what it's going to be is the fans are going to be entertained. And at the end of the night, I can guarantee you that when people go home from that show, they're going to, they'll remember a lot of stuff on that show, but they'll say, oh, yeah, what about when Simon wrestled so-and-so? And that's the goal of a wrestling show, to get people to come back to it. If you're not getting people talking about you and getting them engaged in your match, then you did absolutely nothing. All you did was steal money from the promoter that night. And since these guys are my friends, I don't want to steal the money. And then night 2, me and Chetty, or else they're going to steal my merchandise and throw it out to the crowd. But night 2 with Chetty, that's real special to me, man. It's as soon as I knew there was a big night 2, and that card, let's look at that card. You're not seeing even one of these types of cards anywhere else, anywhere in the country. But as soon as I knew night 2 was coming up, I reached out to Chris. And I said, look, I got something special for us, dude. And I called Pat. He talked to Eric. We put it all together. And as much as I'm looking forward to that night specifically, maybe more than any night I've looked forward to maybe since my kid was born. And that's the truth. That's how excited I am for that. To be there with him one last time, to be, I've had my ups and downs. The Hurricane as a competitor. It's going to be a hotly contested match. That doesn't sound too cliche. And Starman's a little bit of an X factor. Don't know much about Starman. I honestly don't even know who it is underneath the mask. I have no clue. Nor do I care.
What makes you think there is a mask?
It might be tattoo. I don't know. I mean, but I will tell you, those two guys are in for a rough night because me and Chetty, we don't care what happens on Saturday morning. You know what I mean? It's all about Friday night. So those two guys are going to live to fight and to wrestle another day. Me, Monday morning, I'll be back at the bank, and Chris will be back to being a building inspector in New York City. So, you know, I know, it's going to be big, man. I mean, you top that night off with John Morrison and Liger. I mean, that's the first time Liger's been back to the States in I don't know how long, and PWS has got the coup to have him pretty much exclusively. You want to come and see Jushin Liger, you're going to come to PWS. It's simple as that.
Oh, God. I'm trying to save up money to go to those events just for the fact that Jushin Thunder Liger and you, and to name a few.
Where do you live?
And Kevin Matthews as well, because he owes me...
Where do you live at?
Miami, Florida, sir.
Oh, your ass better be at that show. I don't care if you got to drive. If you're here supporting this radio show, you better be underrated. Yeah. Yeah, you better be there supporting. But, I mean, look at that card, dude, with all the names that are on that show and the matches that are going to be there and the access to those wrestlers. You know, I spent a long time in Major League Wrestling, so to speak, and when you go to an event like this, your interaction with the wrestlers is literally 10,000 times better than it is at a WWE show. It's just not possible at WWE or I guess TNA or whatever. You can't do it. I mean, the guys are doing the match, they're getting cleaned up and getting out of the building as soon as it's over, but this is totally different. I mean, hell, you come over to the merchandise table or the gimmick table getting autographs and pictures, I'll sit and talk to you for 20 minutes, you know? It's just one of those things where it's a lot more personal, I think, and that's what PWS has done a really good job of.
Well, this will be the first PWS show, in addition to the meet and greet from 6 to 8, where we'll have Big Van Vader and Bret Hart and Billy Graham, the Rock and Roll Express, so on and so forth. This is the first time we're actually offering backstage passes to fans to come in the back and kind of
that's cool.
See what goes on and interact with people and really get that kind of experience. Because for us, you know, we like to be very honest with our fans. You know, when there's stuff going on, we tell them the truth. And it's like for us, you know, behind the curtain, it's we're not hiding anything. And you know, we're blessed with this high population of smart fans that are very dedicated, fans that legit come from Japan, from the UK, people that drive from Upper Canada to come to these events. And they're part of the PWS family. The PWS family, it's not just me and Pat, it's not just me, Pat, and the workers, it's everybody. It's everyone under that roof joining together. And that's really the experience that we're all embracing together.
I mean, that's how it's got to be. And unfortunately, it's not like that at a lot of other places. It's not. I mean, let's be honest. Everybody on this phone knows what goes on. Some other places. I mean, I just got done with a thing down in Nashville 2 months ago, and the guy there tried really hard, and Crossfire Wrestling, and it went out of business, and there's some guys owed money. I mean, go figure. Me at a wrestling promotion where you got to get, you know, you get beat on some checks. But, you know, it's just one of those things, and this is, I mean, and there's also New Jersey for so long, my God. It's just, like every roach in the world that had some friends with T-shirts and could get a wrestling was promoting shows. I mean, I remember my brother Donnie B used to promote in the early 2000s. We all had good crowds, and then Dennis before him and others. But, my God, it just seemed like every degenerate scumbag on earth would just promote New Jersey. And I think Pat and Eric have done, and the PWS family have done a pretty good job of putting out a product that's so good that the people are going to be like, well, I'm going to continue to eat filet mignon. I'm not going to go eat bologna and, you know, sardines. I'm not. So some of these, you know, carnival barkers have went by the wayside. They're not showing up anymore. They're not promoting, or they changed the name of it. It's not. It doesn't seem to be as prevalent. So I think they've slayed some of the vampires that I tried to get years ago and I couldn't. So I feel like my protégés have carried on the fight.
I'm humbled to hear that. I mean, Phoenix Championship Wrestling with you and your brother Donnie Ray. I mean, you guys had Amazing Red, Kazarian, you had Mickey James before she was Mickey James, Matthews and York, Samoa Joe. I mean, there was a wealth of talent. This was 2001, 2002. Yeah. You know, these guys are doing this. So, I mean, from the promoters and the workers, I mean, you certainly get it. You know, you're definitely there on the pulse of everything. So I definitely take what you're saying, you know, with high significance, because you were there. You know the deal better than anybody.
And you guys have carried on a tradition that a lot of guys don't do, Eric. And what I loved when Donnie B promoted, and I thought he was one of the best promoters in Jersey, that all the boys were always taken care of. Financially, they had a place to eat. There was an after party. Everybody was taken care of. It was a big group. And when I came in June and wrestled Spellbinder, that was exactly what I felt backstage. Whether I, hanging out with goofing off with Kevin, or talking to Pat, and there was even a hint of a problem. I mean, you guys came flying out of the corner, hit it heads up, and took care of it. And there really wasn't. There was one or two guys that kind of embarrassed themselves about some money. We didn't see them again. They flew out of there like a bird, so to speak. And that's really about it, man. And I just, you go to enough bad locker rooms, and you really appreciate when you see something being done right. And as soon as Pat got involved in this, I knew it was good, but I knew it was going to be really good. And you guys got a good synergy together, which is refreshing to see.
Much appreciated.
Well, that was a great. Now, mind you, again, guys, if you want to purchase your tickets for this Supercard 2013 and actually watch Simon Dean team up with Chetty one last time, or Nova, so to speak, one last time, make sure you purchase your tickets for these events at ProWrestlingSyndicate.com, or even go onto their Facebook, and it's on Facebook.com/Pro Wrestling Syndicate for all event and ticket information. Now, Mr. Bucci, basically, when you started your career, literally your first exposure came between about 1992 and 1994, when Vince McMahon basically used a lot of local talents, or should I say, as
enhancement guys.
Yep. Exactly, enhancement talents to put over up-and-coming superstars. But then, while your time in Mr. Sharp's wrestling school, you were also noticed by Raven, and then you debuted in ECW, where you were paired up with Raven, Stevie Richards, Blue Meanie, just to name a few. And your first exposure to the ECW crowd was doing a parody of Kiss that went over so well that Bubba actually went on record on the Rise and Fall of ECW book that he said that was so great, the crowd really loved it. The only thing better that would be is a parody of the NWO, where then the BWO, debuted.
Yeah, that's exactly. And again, starting out, I walked into Mike Sharp's school in 1991.
Yeah.
Fat kid from Thomasville, New Jersey. Dad did garage doors. Mom worked at a pharmacy and Stop and Shop. No connections in the business whatsoever. And that's how you started back then. There was no. When I see this shit today, my God, with developmental systems and camps and tryouts, let me get this straight. They're going to pay you to learn how to wrestle? That is just mind-boggling to me. And it always, even when I was in charge of developmental, I had a hard time wrapping my head around that sometimes, because I paid to go to wrestling school to Mike Sharp's. So the concept of getting paid to learn this is crazy. It's like when you're an intern somewhere, you don't get paid to learn it. Whether you're a medical intern or, it's just totally different. So that's one of the ways the business has changed, but that's how you broke in. You did the job matches. The Hardys were there and Helms, and I met a lot of guys back then doing early job matches up and down the East Coast. And even my beginnings of ECW, it was, hey, Nova, get to the show however you can. I might get $25, $50, or whatever. The first money I ever made was in developmental, and when I got getting $1,000 a week for WWE. Before that, I thought I was a millionaire when I got that. Before that, it was for love of the game, man. And I don't necessarily know how much that's around anymore, because you get a lot of guys who come in now, and if they're on an indie, they want a good spot, they want to be used, they want to push, they want to blah, blah, blah. Well, how long have you been doing it? I've been doing this a year and a half, man. I'm going to give up. I'm not making it. Huh? And it's a change. And I don't necessarily think it's for the better. I think they let a lot of people into this that should have never been in, to be honest with you. And they kind of don't stay around. But that TV time and that push and all that other stuff gets used on those guys when it should have been used on the people who really kind of earned it.
Well, also, Mr. Bucci, though, actually, even after your ECW time, when ECW closed down, you returned back to the indie scene, until about, give or take, 2003, where you even wrestled internationally in England and in Australia. Then in April...
5 continents, 50 countries, 5 continents, every state in this country. And like you said, after ECW went out of business, and I knew it was done. When we had the last show in Pine Bluff, I knew it was done. I'm looking around the locker room, and everybody's like, hey, I'll see. We're going to get back on track. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. I knew it wasn't come back. I had a degree in mathematics. I was a college educated. I'm a smart guy. I mean, I could see the writing on the wall. And my goal was to always get to WWE anyway. So as soon as they went out of business, I got a phone call both from WCW and WWE. WCW went out of business soon after. And then Jim Ross, I saw him in California, UPW. And he told me, we're going to get to you as soon as we can, kid. Just don't get hurt and just keep working hard. And I said, okay. About a year later, they contacted me, and I was signed on the spot to go down to OVW to Jim Cornette, and he gave me the biggest break of my professional career then because he treated me like a top guy the minute I walked in there, put me in a feud with Cena, and never looked back.
Now, Mr. Bucci, we've always gotten a lot of opinions from a lot of ECW originals about the reason why ECW closed down. Let me go ahead and ask you of your opinion on why or what caused the ECW brand to close down.
Business expansion, and it happens to a lot. I compare it to, and I've had mixed feelings on it over the years, but, the days of just completely destroying Paul, for Paul this and Paul that, I'm not going to do that anymore, man. Paul lost money, too. Lost his mom and dad's money, his money, all other stuff. But I think it's like a .com. In the early 90s, a lot of .coms, they were well-funded. They had, a lot of money behind them. They expanded quickly, and then they got too big, and they imploded. And they had a lot of surface value but no real tangible value to them. And ECW had some tangible value, but it expanded and got to a point where it wasn't self-sustaining, our business model, from what I understood, and from what I looked at it. I never got to see all the financials, but that's what I think just happened. It exploded from within, and then, we just didn't have a buyer to get back on television, and that was it. So.
Well, back to, and thank you very much for sharing your opinion on that, because, of course, we've all watched read the book. We've all watched the WWE-produced DVD of the Rise and Fall of ECW, and we've heard everyone's different opinions, but I wanted to get yours on that subject. But back to the subject of OVW, Mr. Bucci, like you said, you feuded with Cena, where you actually beat him for the heavyweight championship in OVW. But when you lost the title to the Manja, you officially, in June, you actually became the assistant booker for OVW, and then you were called up to SmackDown and Velocity and actually started working the Simon Dean gimmick, which, if I'm correct, was actually inspired by Dean Malenko's real name, Dean Simon. So,
well, kind of. I mean, at that time in OVW, we were getting to a point where a lot of guys were getting called on, whatever you want to call it, and I was still there. They just could not find the right niche for me. So that used to always drive me nuts when you hear, you got creative people that can't come up with nothing for you, even though, and I had many meetings with Vince face-to-face, and it was like, look, you're great, man. We just don't know what to do with you. Okay. So I created Simon Dean 100%. It was 100% mine. The original 100%. The original name that I had was Sonny Slade, because I wanted to have a Sonny Slade's super system of self-help and supplements. And I went ahead and copyrighted and everything, man. And I just didn't think that. So then they when I went up there and presented to Vince, I went to his office one day and I had a jumpsuit on and fake protein bar and all that, and I pitched it to him like I wasn't Mike Bucci, like I was really Sonny Slade. And he loved it. And he came down to OVW like a week later, and we discussed it again. And 2 weeks later, I was in Titan Tower filming my vignettes. And when I say filming them, I was directing them. Like they were like, it was so surreal to see how the process really works. Because you think, I always hear about scripts and writers and scripts and all that stuff. The entire time I was there, I used to get some bullet points every now and then, but I never had anybody tell me what to say, what to do, what to wear. I mean, wearing the watch to the ring, that was my idea. The gym bag, bringing it to the ring, that was my idea. The Dean machine, the Segway scooter, 100% my idea, all of it. So I think that's what works best. I mean, you know how to promote yourself better than they will. So.
Well, as a matter of fact, well, Mr. Bucci, one of my fondest memories of you and the Segway was actually your entrance in the Royal Rumble, where you actually entered the ring and tried to give a high five to Triple H.
Yeah, I did actually. I wanted to get thrown out of the top rope and land back on the scooter and just drive it right to the back again, because I knew, at that point, I knew if it didn't matter if I was in there for 1 minute or if I was in there for 1 hour, A, I wasn't going to win, and B, I was going to make about $5,000 or $6,000 anyway, no matter what I did. So I didn't care. It wasn't about me. There's a lot of guys that forget that. There's so many people in WWE that forget that they're a role player, they're a bit player. They're there to paint the bigger picture. They're not necessarily going to be the black or the white, which are neutral colors. They're going to be the green, blue, yellow, orange, all those accentuating colors that help paint the bigger picture. So, I was an ingredient in that dinner that night, which I was, an expensive ingredient for me, but an ingredient nonetheless.
Well, as a matter of fact, also, Mr. Bucci, and this is going to be my final question because I don't want to steal any more questions in case my co-hosts have anything to ask you. One of the things you also ended up doing in the WWE is also manage, and at that time you were actually you placed a challenge to any tag team where Paul and Brian Kendrick answered that challenge. But then that was the debut of your tag team, the Gemini, which included Jake and Jesse. Which were running the gimmick by saying two alleged users of the Simon system. You began managing them, but then Jesse, I believe, got injured in May of 2006, and then you went back to becoming an enhancement talent. How did that work out in your career? Did it help you gain more experience at managing the wrestling?
It was my idea. Oh. I was wrestling singles matches and Simon, and I was the leader of the Gemini. I was friends with the Shane twins for years, and for a long time, I kept saying, "Look, I want to." One of my original ideas in WWE, I wanted to start like a cult, and I was going to call it the Church of Simonology. And I went to them, and I wanted to have followers, And I tagged the original guys I wanted to have in were the guys that wound up being the Dicks. There was a tag team, what they're called the Dicks, little guys. And Tank Tolan and another guy named Chad. They were Tank Tolan and another guy named Chad Dick, or whatever his name was. And, I saw them, and I knew the Geminis, too. They got hired, the Shane twins, so they didn't want the smaller Dicks guys. And so I got the Gemini, and they didn't want to do the Church of Simonology. They're like, there's no way we can do that. It's too controversial. It's religion. I said, okay. Of course, a year later, Vince McMahon was wrestling God on pay-per-view. Go figure. But so I got the Gemini to come in, and they were really good workers. But I was put with them as the manager ringside to help them get better, and that's exactly what I wanted to do. I was the mouthpiece for them. I was giving them my heat, and I would help them with their matches at ringside. Tag in, get out, keep him in. It was a shoot. I mean, they listened to everything I told them to do, and they're still my friends to this day. If Todd didn't get hurt, they would have been tag team champions. Vince told me that to my face. Eminem had the belts at the time, and about 2 weeks before Jake got hurt, Vince told me, he goes, "We're going to make a title switch with these guys." He goes, "These guys are getting it." I said, "All right, sweet." So, but oh well, they were. What are you going to do?
Well, let me go ahead and stop stealing questions, and let me go ahead and start passing over to my co-host, starting with Mr. Pleska. So, Mr. Pleska, if you have any questions for Mike, go shoot him.
Well, I mean, you were talking about the Shane twins. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. You go back to Phoenix Championship. They wrestled for you and Donnie, and for me, I'm looking at it. You and Donnie are actually twin brothers, which I don't know if people know that or not. And Shane twins, kind of in the name, they're twins. Was there any gravitation for you as a worker, being a twin yourself, working with a combination of twins?
I guess there could have been, but I knew those guys for so long, Eric, that I saw how hungry they were, and I saw how cool they were. So I started to get a little bit of a foothold in WWE, and I was the one that actually, like I said, went to Michael Hayes and the writers and said, "Look, I want some henchmen up here." So I kept pushing for a long time. I'm a firm believer in throwing the lifeline out and helping other people get to where they want to be. And Pat has really, I was helped Pat a lot when he was down here too. So I'm always glad to see Pat pay it forward. But I just saw two big jacked up muscle guys that were actually collegiate / semi-pro level tennis players, if you can believe that. And Yeah, they had a hell of a gimmick. I mean, and they were legit ass kickers. So I couldn't have been happy. We traveled together, hung out together, worked out together. I thought it was a great act, man. I mean, I loved being with those guys. It kept me on TV even more, and it gave me another facet into, not only am I worried about my career, I'm worried about my friends' careers too, helping them out. Because when they put matches together, I was the one that sat there, and I would put the entire match together with their opponent. And they would just sit there and say, okay, let's do it.
Well, now, jumping ahead, I mean, TV appearance-wise, let's go to 2010. You're part of a TNA pay-per-view, Hardcore Justice, 7 matches, all featuring former ECW talent. What was that experience like working that pay-per-view? And would the real feeling of ECW ever really be able to be recreated by any promoters? I mean, we have promoters now in 2013 booking ECW-themed shows years after ECW stopped running.
No, I don't think it can, Eric. It can't be duplicated. Here's why. At the time, you had 3 promotions. The business was as hot. It was. Me and Canyon talked about this one time before he died, and it's impossible to recreate it. You had guys with rebels, guys with attitudes, guys with edge, who had either been to the major companies or were trying to get there. I mean, undiscovered talent: Malenko, Guerrero, Benoit, Jericho, all these guys who were recreating themselves. Austin, Al Snow, even all these other guys, and those raw materials aren't around anymore. They're not. It's the truth. So it can't be recreated. There's only one game left in town. The TNA thing was cool. To be honest with you, I went down there to see the guys for the night. They tossed around doing a 6-man and some other stuff. I said, I don't want to do that. I said, let Stevie have a singles match. I have no Dreamer put the whole thing together. That's the only reason I really committed. But after being there, just for the day, I think they try hard. A lot of my friends wrestle in TNA. They're all good guys, but it's something I was never interested after that. I mean, I actually got approached that weekend because they knew I had a history in talent relations and other stuff, and asked if I ever thought about, coming down there to work with them, and I politely declined and wanted to be a mortgage broker and work in banking. I had no desire. If I was ever going to go anywhere ever again, it would be go back to play for the Yankees in WWE. Which I've turned that down multiple times, and I don't want to do it. So, some people have a hard time with that. They don't understand that. But after 20 years, I just don't have a desire to do it. It's not as fun. It wouldn't be as fun, Eric. It wouldn't. And as far as the ECW shows go, I'm all for people promoting shows to pay the boys and give them work. And if that's the vehicle you're going to use, it's awesome. It's cool. I get it. I don't know how much of a rabid audience is going to be left for it. I think the only way to even aesthetically try to make it work is to get an influx of new guys that could, quote-unquote, have like an ECW edge to them and have them wrestle with the ECW originals. So,
Yeah, I guess like sitting back as a promoter, it's like, like you did with Phoenix Championship or like we're doing with PWS, is creating a unique product. To me, ECW was special because it was unique. And it just seems that the duplication of this, while there still might be fans and, a lot of the wrestlers are still very talented and still go. I saw Jerry Lynn and Lance Storm wrestle at PWS 2 weeks ago, and it was a phenomenal 20-minute back and forth. They got a standing ovation. There's plenty of guys that can still go. But, between, Extreme Rising and House of Hardcore, all these sets are just trying to recreate something. I don't know if...
Shane's thing was a little bit. Shane's thing was a reunion show, and now it's trying to be a full-blown promotion. I don't know how well it's going to work if they just rest on that. We'll wait and see. Dreamer's thing, House of Hardcore, that's different because Dreamer used the House of Hardcore name because he's Dreamer. It's hardcore. It was your name of the original school. That's the history behind that name. But when I looked at it, there was an appearance by Spike on that show and a couple other ECW originals. But Dreamer used a lot of other guys. He had Masters on there, Carly, Young Bucks, I think. Scott Steiner was there. Dreamer called it. Edge showed up. So it's not. I don't put that in the same category as Shane's. Shane is definitely much more of a, like if you go to Disney World, there's the Pirates of the Caribbean theme ride because you saw the movie. You want to go on the. This is like the ECW theme ride to me. So I just don't know what kind of sustained audience there can be for it unless you really freshen it up and make it avant-garde. I don't know. I've never seen. I saw one of Stevie's matches against Rhino, but I have not seen any other stuff on there. I've never seen any of the shows. So I take that back. I saw Raven with his thing when he beat up the crippled kid.
Oh,
and that whole deal. So that was different, to say the least. I never thought of beating up a legitimate crippled guy in the ring. That was trend-setting, to say the least. But, it's, as long as there's places for the boys to go and get work, I'm all for it.
I couldn't agree more there. Assuming they get paid, of course.
Yeah, I believe they got to get paid unless they want to wrestle for free. Or they, as long as they don't get abused and do so. Because there's a lot of guys that are doing those shows, too, that have, I want to say, real jobs in the real world. Devin, I talked to Devin a while back. Devin Storm, he has a real job, and some other guys have real jobs, so they get to go do it for the week. Like me, when I come to PWS, that's Thursday, Friday. I'm going to probably do a convention Saturday morning. I'm coming back here and hosting a WrestleMania party at a casino up in Indiana. Then I'm back at the bank Monday morning. So that's different. But as far as guys, I don't know if the guys are going to put all their eggs in one basket at these nostalgia events and saying, hey, this is going to go full-blown. It's going to be my last run, my last hurrah. If that's what you want to do, cool. I have a lot of the guys have diverse interests, so we'll see what happens.
All right. And that's some great responses, if you ask me. Now, Randall, do you have any questions for Mr. Bucci?
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, we've been able to take a journey through your whole career here and all the questions, and I wanted to go a little bit before that. Like, what really motivated you to start training and wrestling and to really go in and get into this world of wrestling?
Something that I think is missing from a lot of guys today. I was a fan. I remember the first match I ever saw in my life was Pedro Morales against Don Morocco. I was about 6 years old, watching it in New Jersey on the MSG network, and I was hooked. Wrestling would get banned in my house every other week. My mom and dad said, you guys can't watch this, you're killing each other. But I never thought about, and then of course we would, but I never thought about doing it seriously ever until I went to Iron Mike Sharp School. Iron Mike Sharp, veteran wrestler, opened up a school in Bricktown, New Jersey, and I went to some of the shows and watched them, and I had a friend of mine named Rich, who I went to high school with, and, he had a little backyard and all this stuff. We made phony belts and all that stuff, and he started going to Mike Sharp School. Now, Rich lasted about a year and never made it, but I stuck around, and I only thought I would maybe do some local independent shows. I never in a million years, and then I started, getting the chance to go up to WWE and do the extra stuff, and in 1996 I was on an Indy show where Raven saw my superhero act, and he loved it, and then I got to there. I guess the story of my career would be sometimes I was in the right spot at the right time, but I was always smart enough to take advantage of the opportunity that was given to me. And that goes in life too, man. A lot of people don't do that. They just say, hey, it's good. That roulette wheel doesn't always stop back on 17. It doesn't. So when you get an opportunity, you have to be smart enough. You don't have to be necessarily good enough. You just got to be smart enough to try to take advantage of it. And I think that's something I always did pretty good.
Definitely. And going on with just talking about wrestling in itself, you mentioned how you think it's missing from today's world, today's day in pro wrestling, that a lot of people aren't the fans. They just come in as just an athlete or somebody who just is able to do stunts that other people just regularly can't. But what else do you think is missing from today's world of the brand of wrestling? Because a lot of the old school fans miss a lot of the old school, but today's is just different. What you see on TV, at least.
A lot of the realism is gone. I think a lot of the realism is gone. And we've done that to ourselves. We pulled back the curtain and we showed them that Oz is an old man who was a snake oil salesman back in Kansas. And by that I mean we've come out with and told them this is a work, and we've insulted their intelligence to some degree, I think, because you can go on Twitter and Facebook and all this other stuff and see guys who are mortal enemies, and then there's a picture of them eating in a restaurant together. Or there's some guy who's supposed to be like XYZ gimmick or something, and then you read his Twitter post talking about how he just had a ham sandwich and he took a shit. or just what. I mean, I think a lot of the mystique is gone. I do. I truly believe that. And I don't think the people believe as much. Why are they going to invest a lot of time sometimes into the fake fights where they don't even look real, when they can watch a real fight in MMA to a degree between two guys who apparently really hate each other? You know, all MMA did was take wrestling's formula. It worked for a long time, and they did it better, you know? And
yeah,
if Eric lived on my block, my next-door neighbor, and I told him that Joe is a big dude, big guy down the street, he's an ex-cop, real bad attitude. And then there's Timmy down the other end of the block, and they hate each other for years. And me and Eric are talking and say, hey, dude, Joe and Timmy, they're going to fight today at 4 o'clock. I heard it, man. They're going to hate. And we know for years these guys hate each other. So we go and tell all the neighbors in the neighborhood, every single one of those people is going to be outside at 4 o'clock in the afternoon waiting for these two guys to fight, because that's how you draw money. I mean, and I just think a lot of that's gone, man. And a lot of the really good, like, carpenters, so to speak, and the guys who could build up guys, and the good workers, and the guys who get guys ready for the next level, they're just gone. TV time is so scarce, so to speak. You got main event and pay-per-view quality matches, honestly, that are, you know, how many times do we turn on Raw and the main event starts at 10:58 and it goes like 4 minutes? And you're like, huh? So it just doesn't seem like a lot of it isn't must-see anymore. And it's chilling to me when the guys who come back part-time get bigger reactions than the guys who are on TV every week, because that just shows me that they haven't built a lot of stars, and they didn't replace the guys who left. Ric Flair, Batista, obviously Eddie and Chris, Kurt Angle, JBL, when Fit Finlay left, all these guys, dude, they just, nobody took those spots.
Well, and speaking of how you're comparing, you know, from the wrestling from back then comparing to now, one thing that's definitely changed as well, then again, you're the one that could probably tell me better if it's changed a lot, is the wellness policy for the WWE. Whereas I'm pretty sure you saw the ongoing now social media craze with the whole issue with Jack Swagger. What is your take on this whole thing of the wellness policy being so strict?
I like the concept of the wellness policy. We all sat in a room with Vince McMahon about 3 weeks after Eddie died. I never forgot this, where they were putting the wellness policy in play. Vince told us all in the room, face to face, many of you will not be here 2 years from now, 3 years from now. Most of you won't be here 5 years from now. I told that to his employees to their faces. So what we're doing now is to make sure that when you're no longer here one day, that you don't die because of something you did under our watch. I feel responsible for that. And that was cool to hear that. I've never drank alcohol in my life. I've never taken pain pills, never smoked weed. I actually am a steroid advocate. I've never saw anything wrong with steroid use or personal physician is prescribed or whatever else. Steroids don't kill. I'm not going to get in my soapbox about that. But, you know, it's a cosmetic choice. It's also a medical choice that can help you rehab from injury. They don't call. I don't know. If a wrestler has a personal choice to go drink alcohol all night or smoke cigarettes, I don't know how you can tell them that you can't take something that's going to get them in better shape. With better technology, better food, better diet, better supplements, everything we already and steroids are going to be obsolete within the next 5 years because they're going to go to gene doping, which is going to completely change the game. And you know, so for that, I can't advocate that, but I like the fact that the policy, but you know, the policy also has to be fair to everybody. I mean, there's definitely a few times where I scratch my head and say, wow, so and so went away hurt, and somehow he came back 30 pounds heavier and bigger and better looking than when he tore his muscle or whatever. I don't know, you know. And but as far as the disciplinary action goes, you're talking about the Jack Swagger thing. Me personally, I like Jake. I think he's a good kid. He's been around a long time. He's had to eat a lot of you-know-what sandwiches, crap sandwiches, so to speak, to get back in the game and get a push. I don't know how he did it. I mean, he's been on TV for 3 weeks, and he has a WrestleMania title shot, and I'd be willing to bet they would have put the belt on him at WrestleMania, and now he blew it. And me this is my own personal, you'll hear it here from me, I can't see how they can't fire him. And that might be stiff, and here's the only reason I say it. I have zero tolerance, and I'm a big advocate for it. I have zero tolerance for drunk driving or driving under the influence. I have a wife. I have a daughter. I have brothers who are cops. I've lost friends to drunk driving, personal friends, lost relatives. It's insane. So I'm a firm believer in it should be one strike in jail, not community service, not a fine. Because, I guess I'll be the one to say it. If you guys think that's the first time that he ever drove under the influence of a narcotic or alcohol, whatever, you're crazy. It's just the first time he got caught. So that could have been your wife or daughter or brother or cousin who could have got killed by him. So I just think that you have to make an ultimate example. There's been guys who've been fired for DUI before, but apparently here, not only was he under an influence and they found the marijuana in his car, but he was speeding too. So that was probably, if the cops didn't pull him over, that probably wasn't going to end well. And, I hate to say that because I like Jake, but, I just can't see how you can take somebody who's done that and put them in the main event of your biggest pay-per-view of the year. At any time period, not just because it's publicly traded. It just is insane. But the WWE has shocked me before with some of the decisions they made, but I can't see. My initial feeling was that he'd go to Raw on Monday, and then on Monday he either loses his title shot or Del Rio beats him right in the middle of the ring, and then you don't see him again. I just can't see. I just don't know what kind of message you're sending to the talent if you don't do something that drastic. That's me. Might be kind of stiff. I really like Jake. I hope he doesn't have a drug problem. I don't think he does. But,
Well, basically...
a popular decision, but...
Well, Mr. Bucci, from what I do understand from some statements you were making, I know for a fact that he was arrested overnight, but he actually he posted bond, I believe the following day, and was released from jail. So basically...
you get bonded out, you don't... Eric can get busted tonight. I can go bond him out. That don't mean nothing. He's still going to go face charge. He'll plead down, and I'm sure he'll plead down, and it'll be community service and pay a fine. And I hate to sound so rude about it, but all the bullshit that all these, and that's because of Jake. It'd be anybody. That always seems to happen with these guys. And I'm not saying wrestlers in general, but people that do that. Mm-hmm. And it's just mind-boggling to me, man. Here we are, and especially I just couldn't wrap my head around. One of the guys from the main roster called me the other day and told me about it, and I thought he was lying to me. I said, there's no way. Jake has just sat in obscurity for a year. They've done really nothing with him. And to do that, I started wondering where Dutch Mantel was. Because it said, they put him with Dutch. Is he supposed to be driving with Dutch and learning the business? Driving in the car, telling stories, learning the business. That's all you ever hear. All you ever hear is, drive with the veterans, learn the business. I used to. So I don't know where Dutch was. Dutch is probably with the other veterans going to sleep early. But, I feel bad for him because there's just, there's no scenario that I see him, there's no way he could be in the main event of WrestleMania. There's just no way. In the real world, if this was the real world, not the phony wrestling world, think of the incomprehensiveness of that. That you're going to reward somebody 5 weeks after getting a DUI and embarrassing your company and doing like an anti-American, all that. That's crazy.
Right, you can't have the inmates running the asylum, and it's not like there's a shortage of talent to step up and take that spot. There's such a
I would put Mark Henry in there in a second, or Ziggler. I would put Ziggler, Mark Henry, Damian Sanders, anybody, dude. It could be anybody. Because Jake Hader's only been in that spot for 3 weeks. It's not like they have 2 years worth of TV built into this angle. That's the other thing, too. Somebody could walk out there Monday. Jericho could challenge him on Monday night and get a spot. Anybody could. But I truly think you have to do that. I cannot see how Vince McMahon can look at any of his talent in the face if he doesn't do that. I can't. Because I'll tell you right now, man, if I was still there and he was in the main event of WrestleMania, I'd quit. I'd be like, this is bullshit. I tell the line for you for the last couple of years, guys, and this is what I get. I don't care who's drawing money, who's on top. There's just sometimes you just have to do what's right and what's wrong. What's right over doing what's wrong. And if it's not a popular perception, so who cares?
And that was
company, I'd have to fire him.
And that was actually going to be my next question, Mr. Bucci, because I wanted to ask you, like, what would your opinion be if they did put him in the main event at WrestleMania? Wouldn't that be kind of like a slap in the face at that speech that you mentioned earlier?
I'm not buying it anyway. I wouldn't watch it. If I was, I would be so infuriated as a fan. I would, as one of the boys in the back, I'd be like, this is unbelievable. If I was Zack Ryder, I would probably go hit the ring and attack both of the guys. Seriously. Or so many other guys. I don't know. I mean, I would just be like, this is impossible. There's no way. I mean, why would you even have the WWE contract? In the contract, it states clear as day that if there's something to the degree of breaking the law or getting arrested or a misdemeanor, and if it involves drugs or anything like that, the WWE can terminate your contract at will. So I can't see. I mean, what do they want? Do they want one of the guys to get busted in a hotel room with a suitcase full of coke or something before? I mean, is that what you have to do to get fired for that clause? This is crazy. You have a superstar who's on TV getting pushed, and he gets arrested an hour or so after an event, and he has illegal drugs in his car, and he's under the influence of those drugs, I assume. How can you? Where's the gray area, man?
Yeah, and like you were mentioning earlier, and like I mentioned, I feel like if they did put him in the main event at WrestleMania, this would be an automatic slap in the face of that speech that Vince McMahon gave you in that room, like you were mentioning a little earlier.
What kind of punishment is that to go give a guy a six-figure payday? Seriously.
Well, no, I agree with you.
I'll take it tomorrow. If you can tell me that I can go tonight and put weed in my car and go drive down the block and get speed and get busted, and then somehow walk into Wood Forest Bank tomorrow morning and not get in trouble, I would like to know. I would like to see that happen. Because if that happens to one of my employees who works at my bank, they're gone tomorrow. Like if I hear it tonight, I'll help them get bail. I'll help them get out, and I'll say I'm going to help you fill out your resume because you're no longer working here. You're finished instantly. There's a morality clause when you work for a company. And I just don't get it, man. I'm telling you, my initial instinct is this Monday they'll resolve that.
All right. Hopefully, we'll see come Monday. Come Monday at 9 o'clock on Monday Night Raw. But just a round table real quick. Eric, do you have any final statements, questions for Mr. Bucci?
Hey, I mean, I'll just reiterate one more time. Thank you for, I know you're very selective with who you work for. Thank you for choosing Pro Wrestling Syndicate. Certainly looking forward to this double shot in April. You and Chris Chetty one more time. Definitely going to be something special, and just really honored to have that happen in our ring. You know, yet another awesome PWS moment. I'm glad to have people in our locker room that get it, you know, which is really a breath of fresh air, you know.
Thank you, guys. I mean, I love it. I consider you guys the next generation of where I started with promoting wrestling, Pat, all of that. And again, I'll say it. If you're an ECW fan, old ECW fan, and you knew me, and you knew Chetty, knew that, there is no reason. I don't care. This might not be PC, but I don't care what other shows are going on that weekend. I don't. If you're not sitting there on Friday night, April 5th, and you were a fan of any way, shape, or form of mine, I consider that an insult, because you can the guys that are all doing the other shows, you can see them again. They're going to be there again, whether it's in the month after that, 6 months. There's a lot of those guys wrestle in that area all the time. This is the first time that me and Chris Chetty have been in a ring together in 10 years, and in all likelihood, it'll never happen again, because I won't have the desire to do it, and I don't think he will either. So if you're a fan of ECW, come there. Get your encyclopedia signed. We're going to have DVDs, picture, all of it, man. Just come and shoot the shit. Let's take pictures. Let's hang out. Tell me about your ECW memories. Bring your books, your DVDs, all of it. I will literally stay there till 2 o'clock in the morning if I have to sign and stuff. So will Chris. So, you know, come support PWS, because you guys all a lot of fans complain there was nothing good, all the promotions sucked, blah, blah, blah. Well, now you have something to get behind. So there's no excuses, man. I expect to see everybody there.
Huh. Well, I'm already looking at the...
You got a lot of other ex-ECW guys there as well. I mean, you got Dreamer on the show. You got Dreamer going to pop up. You got New Jack. Necro Butcher.
Yeah.
Little Guido's going to be there making an appearance.
Yeah, Little Guido, New Jack, Dreamer. I mean, I get it. I get the other shows that are running the area, Ring of Honor, a bunch of other guys are running. If you're an ECW fan, this is where you're going to be, because you're not going to see any type of... You're going to see John Morrison versus Liger. I mean, you're not going to see this stuff anywhere else. They're always going to run again. But for this specific lineup they're having on Friday night, April 5th, Elijah's going to be there, Cabana, Bret Hart. I mean, Vader. It's crazy. Surprises. I expect to see 2,000 people. Dude, it's going to be crazy. I mean, we're talking, there should be standing room only sardines packed in that place. It should be 110 degrees in there. It should be so hot that night from all the people in there. Let's recreate it, man. Let's get in there. Hit me up on Facebook, guys, or the computer, whatever you want to do. I mean, for your directions, reserve ticket, whatever you guys want, man. It's going to be a good night.
And I'm already looking at the Pro Wrestling Syndicate website for tickets and all that stuff. So yes, I am on the process of doing it myself.
Great, that's what I like to hear.
Well, Randall, what do you have any final statements or questions for Mr. Bucci?
No, just a lot of appreciation towards you, giving your time and coming on here on the show and just, opening up so many topics here and just really being an open book with all these questions, man. I really appreciate it, and it's fantastic. I've been loving this interview this whole entire way through.
Thank you, man. I mean, I never forgot the fans. I've had issues with certain guys over the years, and it's usually because I thought they were lazy or they're disrespectful. And they've always known if they had a problem with me, they knew I had one with them. And it's just not really many. But the fans, I've never had an issue with a fan or a promoter or really ever, hardcore-wise. So the fans always paid our salaries. Without me, without the fans, I had nothing. So that's why I refuse to insult their intelligence, and they will get everything I have to give. I'll never forget it.
Definitely.
Now, Mr. Bucci, is there any way fans can even get a hold of you through social media like Twitter or Facebook in case they even wanted to stay in touch?
I do the Facebook thing, just under my real name of Mike Bucci, MIKE BUCCI. I don't have a Twitter. I probably never will. That LinkedIn, I just signed up. One of my buddies signed me up for that LinkedIn. I'm on there under my real name too, but hit me up, man. It's really me. I'm not. There's no. As far as I know, there's no fake Mike Bucci or Simon Dean pages out there. If I'd been a bigger star, I guess there might have been, but I never saw the need for that crap. But yeah, man, I'm not shy. If you guys need anything, just let me know.
Hey, thank you so very much again, Mr. Bucci, and thank you very much for taking your time to come on our show tonight. It was a great honor, and we hope to actually have you again in the near future.
All right, guys. Thank you so much.